everyone. My name is Chooi,
And I'm Arizz.
and we're from Sime Darby Property. So, in 2021, we posed a question to architects in Malaysia. We asked them this question: What do you imagine a terrace home would look like in the year 2030? So this question was posed as part of an initiative that we did called the Concept Home 2030 competition. And the goal of this initiative was to challenge people in the industry to really think about what homes of the future would look like. So we asked this question right after COVID-19, the pandemic, had really changed life as we knew it. From the way that we shop to the way that we work, the way that we socialize with family and friends. So because the pandemic changed so much of our lives, naturally a lot of the responses from these architects tried to address some of the challenges that came from the pandemic. So for example, there were ideas such as intelligent disinfection doors, right? So doorways where when you enter your home, you and your belongings are automatically disinfected from head to toe. Or isolation pods within your home where you have rooms that are outfitted to help you to quarantine you right at home. And also devices that can scan your health to alert you if anything is amiss. And there are also rooms where, so imagine a room where you have large screens and you have movable walls, movable floor plates that can transport you anywhere in the world. So imagine doing yoga in the forest in the morning, and then in the evening you can have dinner with your friends inside a cafe, all completely virtually in the comfort of your home. So these are some of the really cool ideas that came out of the competition. All in all, we received about 140 submissions, but we'll be going through more of these ideas later on in the presentation. Okay, so we know that these are So we take a step back, right? We ask ourselves, why are we even asking this question? Why is it important to us, especially as property developers? Well, it's because we're living in a time of great changes. And the way that we live is changing, and hence the way that we build and the way that we design homes should also be changing, right? So what are some of these trends or mega shifts that are happening in the world? So a big one is climate change and global warming. So with rising temperatures, you can feel it. A lot of the heat waves are happening a lot more frequently, a lot more severely. And so how do we build homes that can cool itself down naturally, such that you don't need to have the air conditioning on all the time? It saves energy. Also, a lot of extreme weather events have been happening a lot more frequently, such as flooding or hurricanes or wildfires that you see in the news. And all of these events it's really damaging to our homes, to our infrastructure. So how do we build in a way that can withstand these extreme events? And lastly, there's also ecosystem disruption. This really affects our planet's biodiversity, and ultimately it also affects our food systems. So how do we build townships and communities that have systems in place such that our food security is ensured? During the pandemic as well, there are a lot of industries were impacted by the disruptions in supply chain. And the property industry is one of these, is an example. So when the supply chain is disrupted, construction materials are delivered late, and so this leads to a shortage in key construction materials such as concrete, such as steel, and this really drives up the prices of materials. Also, our construction sector is also very reliant on manual labor. And one of the greatest challenges that is faced by the property industry is the shortage of skilled labor. And so this again drives up labor prices, and all of this leads to a huge likelihood in construction projects being delayed. Lastly, there's also big changes in consumer behavior and also in demographics. So Malaysia is one of the countries with the fastest aging population. And what this means is that there's going to be a growing demand for housing and for neighborhoods and townships that are accessible to the elderly, that are mobile, easily mobile for them, and also for greater infrastructure such as healthcare or assisted living facilities. Also, as people continuously move into our cities, it also creates a huge strain on our urban infrastructure. So then the question is, how do we plan our cities better so that we're using our spaces well, we're maximizing the use of our spaces, but also we're building infrastructure that can that can accommodate this growth in population in the future. Lastly, our consumers are also being a lot more aware about things like sustainability or social responsibility. And they're continuously seeking out brands that are more ethical and also that embrace eco-friendly practices. So as business, we have to start responding to these demands from the customers. So we know these shifts are happening across the world and in Malaysia, but what can we do, especially as property developers? What can we do to respond to these shifts? So Arizz is going to take us through this.
Sure, thanks, Shreyan. So we want to look at it holistically, right? Through 4 pillars. And the first one is sustainable solutions, a very big topic and an important one. So we want to look at it through these few angles, right? Locality, environment, materiality, renewable resources, and how do we design to cater to these elements, right? Let's look at something simple first. What's readily available here in Malaysia? Solar power and stormwater management. Nothing new there. But because the sun is really hot here in Malaysia and there's so much rain, these are things we cannot ignore. And then go back to basics, passive design. Again, nothing really new there, but it's often forgotten when we go so far deep into mechanization and mechanical solutions. Let's take a look at the beauty of passive design for a bit. Breathable facades. Have a look at the vent blocks on the left of the screen. The good old vent blocks. Do you know these beautiful facades you see on the screen are made up of vent blocks? Not only does it help you save energy, save costs, but it creates this beautiful environment within the home. And that's something we should not let go of. Next, breezeways. You know terrace houses are sandwiched in between one another, right? So you can only get light and air from the front and the back of the house. But imagine if you had a tunnel that runs through the house that brings the outside in and creates, again, this lovely environment inside. That would be amazing. Then we go to rooftop activation. Why do we have to tile our roof to the roof tiles? Why can't we make them habitable spaces? Bring more life onto the roofs. Give yourself a new floor into your house, right? You can do things like urban farming, which has its own benefits. But when you actually do insert green activities on your roofs, what you're doing is actually offsetting urban development with putting back greenery on top of what you've built. Then there's solar facades. Shading devices are not new here in Malaysia, but they're static, right? Look at these towers in Abu Dhabi. They use technology on their sunshades so that it can move with the sun to create a truly efficient building, and it can save on carbon emissions and energy, right? Then we'll take you a little bit further into the future. Imagine if you didn't even have to really bother about how you sort your rubbish, okay, or your waste. Autonomous robots or waste bins will help you do that. So living green really can be by default. Now let's come back to reality a little bit and talk about materiality. Concrete. Concrete is powerful, but it is also harmful to the environment. It contains cement, which produces so much carbon. But to be frank, we can't run away from concrete just yet. So we need to look at ways to try to soften the blow through green concrete alternatives or methods like carbon capturing. But where we can, we need to try to look at alternative materials. So have you heard of mass timber? Yes, we know about building with timber, but there's also mass timber now. And that is like timber Lego for your buildings. Okay? They take timber and they stick it together so that you get glulam and CLT, and then they create these really large timber structural elements that are strong and durable. But when we build with timber, we must not forget to couple it with sustainable forestry, to not undo the good that we are doing. And another quote that I like is, wood is nature's fingerprint in buildings, and it has an extremely soothing effect. So believe us when we say designing for the environment through biophilic design or biomimicry will truly make you feel good in your homes. And guess what? Our future leaders think so too. We asked a bunch of school students last year to tell us what they envision the future home to be, and they came back with eco-centric solutions. So that gives us great hope for the future. Now let's look at the second pillar, second out of 4 pillars, modern methods of construction, or MMC. Now, some common construction methods you can see today are PPVC and 3D printing, which is common around the world, but it's only just starting in Malaysia. So what's PPVC? It's basically getting modules delivered to site. So the modules were built off-site and then brought to site, and then you can build it on-site like Lego. It's much faster, much cleaner. And 3D printing you can construct designs that are more complex with 3D printing. Then if you take these a little bit further, you can even get drones to help you deliver and slot in those modules on site, or use algorithms to create rows of terrace houses that are so organic through 3D printing. And all these methods actually lead to the ultimate goal of manufacturing homes in factories, in clean, efficient, controlled environments like how they make cars. And then you bring them to site to get faster, safer, cleaner, stronger construction, and all in all, better homes. Which brings me to the next pillar, the third of 4 pillars, modular, customizable, and expandable. Now, why do we keep talking about modules? It's because modules are a powerful tool. You can get modules in large architecture form, interior modules, or even furniture modules. You can then bring it outside and get facade modules. So when you have facade modules, imagine you can even change your facade as you please, like how you go and change the doors on your shelves at IKEA or something like that, right? So with modules, the possibilities are endless. Imagine a typical terrace house plot. You can have multiple configurations, and then you can end up with a street of terrace houses that actually look something like this. This was the winning entry from our concept home competition by Arizz, and he says, freedom of a dream bungalow in terrace form. Now, wouldn't that be grand? So now we come to the 4th pillar, which is tech infused. And Cheyenne, would you like to take us through that?
Thank you, Arizz. So the last pillar is technology. Now imagine your home being infused with technology that makes your life so much easier. Artificial intelligence is on the rise. We cannot ignore it, right? In architecture and design, AI can be a real game changer. So AI can help guide our architects to design spaces that meet very specific requirements. For example, the sustainability elements that Arizz had just talked about. Or it can help to design floor plans that really maximize the use of every inch of space. And also while taking into account the needs of the future owners. So for example, your needs or your preferences and how you want your home to be perfect, AI can generate that floor plan for you. Also, imagine being able to virtually experience your home before you commit to buying it or before you commit to any design. Imagine being immersed in this virtual reality and being able to explore homes that may not even be built yet. And what's more is that these tours can be personalized to your individual preferences. So what you see is not what I see. And these tours can have design options that are very specific to your tastes, but also it can also highlight aspects of a home that make the most sense to you or that is most important to you. For example, if you have a family, maybe it highlights places that have a lot of family gathering spaces. Also, okay, so that was design, that was planning. Now imagine you've settled nicely into your home, right? Can you imagine AI being so seamlessly integrated into your home that it just makes your life so easy? It's like having a personal butler or personal assistant that lives within the walls of your home. So something that can learn your daily habits, your daily routines, but it can also anticipate your needs in a way that you may not even realize it yet. So for example, things like mundane activities like cooking or cleaning or doing house maintenance. All of this can be completely automated, so you don't have to deal with it. Don't have to worry about things like groceries because your house can, or your home AI can keep track of inventory and make orders for you without you knowing, without you bothering. Also, maybe even your house can be the guardian of your health. So it can monitor your health status and also quickly alert you the minute it notices something is a little bit off. Then, of course, there's blockchain. And the possibilities of blockchain in real estate can be tremendous. It can be a real game changer for something like property ownership. So it can safeguard the property ownership records. It can, it can safeguard property ownership records. So imagine on the blockchain, using the blockchain, when you purchase a property, every bit of that transaction, every detail is recorded in a way that no one can manipulate. So it's very safe, very secure. And so this really is, it really makes property ownership and also title transfers very transparent, very secure. Also, so now when we buy homes traditionally, you buy homes in entire units, right? But imagine being able to slice up properties and how you own properties, slicing it up the way you would slice up a cake, right? And blockchain can do that. It can slice up or divide up properties into small bits called maybe tokens, and different people can own this property. So it allows individuals like you and me to buy parts of a property without having to commit to the entire thing. Okay, so now that's on property ownership. But what about living? Imagine living in a community that is empowered by blockchain. What does this mean? So imagine being able to cast your votes on community decisions such as how do we allocate our budgets? How do we spend our money? Or what kinds of guidelines and rules should our community follow? All of these votes can be cast very securely, very fairly, and very transparently on the blockchain. Also, imagine that you can also keep track of how community funds are being spent because all the transactions are recorded on the blockchain in a way that no one can meddle with or manipulate. Also, blockchain also allows communities to be able to earn tokens for very positive community contributions. For example, if you do volunteering work or if you participate in social initiatives, you can earn tokens. So in this way, blockchain is not just any technology, it's not just a technology, it can be a real catalyst for a very interconnected, a very collaborative sort of community living. Okay, so we've gone through all 4 pillars. What happens when you put all these 4 pillars together? So this is the exciting part. Arizz will take us through.
All right, so to take you through it, I want to bring you to the future, all right? Imagine you're in the future now, and you've decided to embark on the biggest purchase of your life, your dream home. So you log on to Sime Darby Properties purchasing platform, and then you decide, where do you want to live? We've got a lot of townships, pick one. And then enter the home parameters. How many bathrooms do you want? How many bedrooms do you want? And then you let AI generate a first cut of your design. Once they've given you the first cut, you can then customize it. Choose from the library of modules and fittings to truly make it your own. All right? And then they'll give you an overview and an estimate of how much it costs. Still not convinced yet? Then view it in virtual reality. This is your masterpiece. Now that you're convinced, add it to your cart. And then at this point, we believe financing and legal documentation will all be streamlined. So everything's just at your fingertips. Then all you have to do is wait. It'll be processed, and what that means is it'll be manufactured in the factories, and then it gets delivered to site very quickly, because again, we're using modular modules. And then once it's on site, you can then view your home getting built. And once you have your home, pair all your devices to the home brain. Now welcome to the future, where we elevate the home buying experience and eventually democratize homes. At Sime Darby Property, we're always thinking about the future and how we can future-proof ourselves. So we ask you to think about your future too. How do you want to live in the future? What's your ideal future home? We're always exploring, so we invite you at Sime Darby Property to come dream with us. Thank you.
Thank you.